I started working in the illustration department for Archer, and the illustration side is kind of more keyframe animation. We just called it illustration because we used Adobe Illustrator for 99% of the work, and that is where we would design all the characters that would eventually be rigged in After Effects and brought to life later. And that was kind of a starting point for a lot of the animators. Working in that area was kind of the entry-level position for the field that I was in. So I made the big switch after season 7 of Archer, and I just started applying for every job opportunity I could in the field. Just every time I found a lead, I would apply to it. And I specifically looked for leads in the storyboard department. I worked for 3 years in Archer doing other people's designs, other people's stories, and I wanted to start getting a little more involved in the process. So I started applying for every storyboard position I could because I wanted to get to the point where other people start drawing the designs that I had in my head.
I think the animation in Archer looks a lot different than the animation in other shows because of how realistic it looks as a cartoon, and maybe like the thickness of the lines and the way that they move. They actually use like ball joint dolls and real actors and real pictures of people to, figure out how their characters are going to move in the cartoon.
The way that we did Archer is that we would take one person downstairs into our photography lab, our photography studio, and they would act out everything from the storyboard. So if Archer were to be reaching inside his pocket, pull out a gun, he would have to make that gesture to make sure that we could get that gesture done perfectly in the Archer style.
Well, obviously the animation style of Archer is way more detailed than the animation style of Cyanide and Happiness, but the emotions that the characters on Cyanide and Happiness faces, is way more, I think it's way more human looking than the characters' faces on Archer because they're not as stiff, they're more movement.
My biggest piece of advice I have for any animation artist, any comic book artist, or anybody hoping to go in the industry, don't get upset about getting a bad critique or a bad review. And always be open for critiques because you're going to be submitting your file. Take what you can learn from it and move on. If you love animation, there's a role for you in animation, whether it's you just drawing it or helping to support the studio. Just being part of this amazing process is something I recommend to everybody, and I recommend that you don't pass it up if you love animation.